now to talk about early modern European studies, our new online MLitt program here at UHI, which was conceived in close relation to research going on in REMRA. And so this is going to be another side of what we're doing here at the university at UHI in collaboration with the wider community. So over to you, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around. I know it's been a real marathon of 2 days, and yeah, I really appreciate folks sticking around to hear a little bit more about our new and upcoming MLitt programme, Early Modern European Studies. So what I'm going to do today is keep it quite informal. I have a short presentation to go over some of the kind of key elements of the new programme, but what I'd like to do first for prospective students in the session and those tuning in later on to the recording is just share a little bit of information about what it's like to be a student at UHI. Now, obviously, the UHI student experience is slightly different to other universities. While we do have, of course, our teaching campuses and research centres across the Highlands and Islands where students can come in and access resources and attend live classes, a lot of our postgraduate provision in particular is delivered online. So that offers a slightly different student experience to some of the more traditional campus-based universities based across the UK. So what I thought I'd do is, rather than me just sit and tell you how wonderful we all are and how you should all come and study with us anyway, I'd ask one of our recent MLitt graduates, Harley Bolton, to say a few words about what her experience was of completing an MLitt programme online. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly share. Harley very kindly recorded some of our thoughts for us. And, oh, sorry, I need to put the sound on. And what we'll do is I'll play this, then I will talk a little bit about the key points of the programme, and then we can come together, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and we can have a more general discussion as well. So I'll let Harley speak for herself.
Okay, recording has started. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm not sure what time Andrew is showing this, and it feels a bit weird to say that because I'm talking to a camera. But anyway, lovely to virtually meet you all. My name's Harley, and I graduated from my MLitt in Viking Studies in September of 2024, and I'm now a current distance PhD student at the Institute for Northern Studies, UHI. So I guess for context on why I'm here talking to you, I completed my BA in Spanish and History in 2021 with the Open University. From 2021 to 2022, I completed my PGCE, and it was the worst year of my life. But anyway, I had a period of a couple of months between completing my PGCE and starting my first teaching roles. And it was in that time that I realised how much I relied on my studies to give me a sense of purpose and a goal, and to kind of support my own mental health. And I knew that I was really going to struggle without that. So I spent a long time considering where I actually want to go with my life, and I suppose doing a bit of soul searching. And I came across the MLitt in Viking Studies, actually probably on a bit of a whim. But as a Yorkshire girl that has always been a little bit obsessed with her local history, I decided to take the plunge, and I essentially started the course for the fun of it. I was particularly drawn in by the Vikings in the Landscape, Understanding Old Norse Place Names module, because, as I say, I am a Yorkshire girl, and have for most of my life I've been surrounded by weird and wonderful place names that made no sense. So I was drawn to that for the fact that I might actually finally understand why Copmanthorpe is called Copmanthorpe. I was also drawn to the Runology and Old Norse module because how cool does that sound? Apologies, Andrew. So the only concern that I had going into the MLitt was studying at a new institution. I didn't know how things worked, Brightspace was new to me, and I wasn't sure how supportive the staff were going to be. I am not here to badmouth other universities, but what I will say is that that is an area where I found, particularly in my previous institutions, that is seriously lacking. So at UHI, when you start your studies, you are designated with a pastoral academic tutor, which is fantastic. However, every single member of staff that I have been in contact with, whether they are lecturers or support staff or staff from the grad school, everyone has been incredibly supportive. Andrew, I'm sorry. Andrew wasn't my personal academic tutor, but he has been my sounding board, my agony aunt, and everything else in between over the last 2.5 years. I don't doubt that there will have been occasions where he has looked at his screen, seen my email and rolled his eyes, but I can honestly say that not only was it a breath of fresh air to have that and to feel so supportive, but it also meant a lot to me that these people genuinely believed in me and wanted to see me succeed. Overall, I was in contact with staff very often, and they always made time for me. So as I say, learning new systems was slightly mind-blowing, especially when you first log into Brightspace. So a bit of advice that I would give you is to take some time out to learn how to navigate it. And if you struggle or you aren't tech friendly, then reach out to the staff and they'll be able to help. Hopefully there'll be some training on how to use Brightspace as well. I had previous experience of studying online, so I sort of already knew some of the pitfalls of doing it. So, you know, when your internet drops out and you miss the most vital part of the lecture, or you're just waiting days to hear back from a lecturer. I expected all of those things because I'd experienced them before. However, compared to my prior experience, I really enjoyed studying online with UHI. It probably helps that I'm an incredibly organised person. So I worked full-time as a teacher whilst studying my MLitt, which meant I had to be very strategic with my free time and when it came to studying. So oftentimes that would mean I would miss the live lectures because they'd take place during the day, but I'd chalk out some time within the week to catch up with that. So my typical week would look like this on the screen. This is a genuine timetable that I made myself whilst studying. So Monday through Friday, I would work and get home at about 4:30. I'd either go for a run or go to the gym and take Bonnie either before or after that. Bonnie's the dog, centre of attention, always. I'd have my tea, dinner to anybody that isn't in Yorkshire, and then study. So I took 2 modules each semester. So I would have 2 evenings a week where I would watch the lecture back and take notes. So Mondays and Tuesdays were generally for accessing the week's reading. Wednesday and Thursday, generally watching the lectures back. And then Friday and over the weekend, I would be planning for essays or writing. So especially, you know, when the due date would loom, I would actively spend time throughout the week, throughout the evenings, reading and writing for that essay. And I used to set myself a target of between 200 to 300 words per night. And that was me, really, up until my dissertation module. It does say week 1, which means I definitely had a week 2 calendar as well. So I was working on a bi-weekly thing. But yeah. So I guess another fear that arose was the isolation of being a distance student. Again, this is something that I was already familiar with. I had made friends whilst I was studying online previously, but this was mostly because we had to attend a compulsory trip to Spain as part of the course, which, while wonderful, you know, if that hadn't have happened, it would have still been quite an isolating experience. So at UHI, when I was interviewed for my MLitt, Andrew Jennings told me about this red witch lady who had red hair like me. He said, "Oh, I think you'll get along." So I immediately looked her up on Facebook and added her. And over the years, Laura and I have chatted and become friends. We actually only met for the first time at graduation. We met outside Scott's house in Orkney, and then we walked in and had Prosecco for breakfast. And the rest is history. I also met Jay on the right of the picture through Laura. So despite us actually sharing some modules together, and we would have chatted within those modules, we didn't really make friends until Laura introduced us. Jay has just finished writing her dissertation. And I like to think that myself and Laura have supported her very well throughout that. Now, I'm all about quality over quantity. So these 2 ladies have been more than enough for me. They've been my sounding boards, they've been my cheerleaders, and truly they have been great friends. And I'm genuinely, eternally grateful to UHI for introducing me to them. Had I not studied at UHI, I would never have met them. What I will say though is you'll get out what you put in. So there are discussion boards, and they are a really good place to chat to staff and students. I'd also say don't be afraid to suggest or even create a WhatsApp chat for you and your peers. They can be really good tools to get to know people. Put yourself out there. As horrible and as daunting as that is, that would be my advice, because like I said, you will get out what you put in. So one of the most thrilling and nerdy things for me was learning from the absolute experts in the field. He will laugh if he ever finds this out, so please don't tell him. But I remember watching a National Geographic documentary on the Vikings. I think it was called Burn the Myth. And Stefan Brink featured on this documentary. Then a few months down the line, I'm sat watching a recording of one of his lectures, and I'm like, whoa, hang on a minute. I've seen you before. And I felt a little bit, it sounds so silly, but I felt a little bit starstruck. And it was kind of at that point that I was like, oh my God, I really am learning from the experts, world-class experts, which to me is really inspiring. Stefan actually supervised my dissertation and is the director of studies for my doctorate. So I still get to learn from him, which is awesome. Speaking of the dissertation, I won't lie to you, it's tough. It's tough. My advice for, I guess, choosing a dissertation topic would be to genuinely love that topic. This is the opportunity for you to demonstrate your passion, your hard work, everything that you've learned and everything that you have, you know, all these new skills that you've practiced over the past year and a half. Now's your chance to really show all of that. So take advantage of it. And I would also suggest that you learn how your supervisor works. So by this, I mean, how reliable are they? And is their schedule something that you can cope with? You'll get to know the lecturers throughout your modules, and this is a great opportunity to gauge that. So I knew Stefan was part-time, so I knew he might take some time to reply, but I also knew that he believed in me. He wouldn't have taken me on had he not believed in me. And he wasn't expecting me to send him every draft chapter every single time I made any changes. So there was that, I guess, trust there and that genuine belief in me, which still baffles me, to be honest. But this is what I think you need from your supervisor-supervisee relationship. Establish how you'll work together and then feel comfortable communicating whenever any issues arise, should they arise. As I say, I graduated from my MLitt in September of 2024. It was a lovely day from start to finish, and it made all of the ups and downs very, very worthwhile. I started my MLitt for the fun of it and finished my MLitt with a distinction, and I was awarded Student of the Year as well, which again still baffles me. So I knew when I started my dissertation that I wanted to complete my PhD, and I started firing off emails and filling in forms, and I was supported throughout that entire application by Andrew, Stefan and Alex Landmark as well. And I actually, that hasn't changed. I continue to be supported now as a PGR. And I'm not just saying it because he's here, virtually, but Andrew is a saving grace. So overall, would I recommend studying online at UHI? Yeah, absolutely, wholeheartedly. And I'm even trying to get Laura and Jay to pursue their PhDs with UHI. I'm trying, I'm working on it. So finally, I've already kind of given some recommendations throughout this presentation, but a few, I suppose, tips or tricks to kind of survive the MLitt. Seize every opportunity. So when I say this, I mean take advantage of every opportunity that's offered to you, but also be open to those new experiences. Great things never came from comfort zones. I'm very much a creature of habit and I thrive in routines. So for me, that is my comfort zone, and I don't like it, and it makes me uncomfortable when things go wrong. Well, guess what? I learn more about myself in those times that things don't work out than any other. Sometimes it isn't about getting things wrong, it's just simply about pushing yourself to do something that you wouldn't normally. Make good habits early on. I've not put that here, but make good habits early on. They include time and environment management. It'll make life easier later down the line. Surround yourself with your people. By this, I mean people who love and care about you and want to see you succeed. Consciously practice self-care, whatever that might be. This journey that you're on, it's not easy. It's not. That's why not everybody does it. There will be highs, there will be lows, and sometimes you've kind of just got to ride that wave and get to the other side of it. But you can certainly make those lows a little bit less difficult with a bit of self-care. So back on the other slide, you saw like my weekends, I would have a bath, and my bath was my self-care. Face mask, shave the legs, everything, fresh bedding, that was my self-care. But yours might look different. Yours might be climbing a mountain. I don't know. Do that. The next one, I really hate how well-being retreat, like cultish it sounds, but remember your why. So there will absolutely be times during your studies where you question everything. Your ability, your topic, your sanity, your goal, everything. And in times like these, I think it's really important to remember why you're doing it and who you're doing it for, which is hopefully you. And your goals, you've got to remember your hopes, you've got to remember your dreams. Next one is asking for help. Asking for help's vulnerable, and being vulnerable is really scary. Some people believe it's a sign of weakness. I completely disagree. Having the courage to admit that you are struggling or you simply just don't know is actually really empowering. So I'd argue that you need to be able to ask for help, and that is fundamental for your personal growth and your development. Remember your worth. So Jay, from a couple of slides ago, she shared a sentiment with me recently that I would like to share with you. So I'd just read a paper that was essentially my plan for my entire PhD in around 100 pages. So it's safe to say that I was a little bit disheartened, and I had a moment of doubt. Then she said to me, question, how many Harley Bothams are there? 1, I replied. Exactly, she said. So no other person on this planet is going to write what you will write the way that you will write it. Nobody else can do what Harley Botham can do. And you know what? She's right. The same can be said for all of you. So when times are tough, I ask that you just give yourselves a break. Treat yourselves with compassion and kindness, and appreciate yourself and how far you've come, because it is a journey. Be proud of who you are and your achievements, and remember your worth. And then finally, enjoy every minute of your studies. Let it ground you, let it remind you to be present and to be grateful. I'm sorry that I can't be there with you in real time, but if anyone wants to get in touch with me with any questions, if you have any worries, or if you just want to have a chat and make that connection, by all means, send me an email. I've popped it on the screen. Thank you for listening.
Okay. I had to pay Harley a huge amount of information to say all that nice thing. Huge amount of information, huge amount of money to say all those nice things about me. And what I'd like to do now is talk a little bit about the new Masters itself. So I'll pop some slides on the screen for everyone. So hopefully over the last few days, you've seen the width and the depth of early modern research which is taking place at UHI. And this was one of the kind of founding reasons behind the formation of REMRA, which Catherine led. And it was evident from that very first meeting back in 2021, I think it was, end of 2021, that we were all doing amazing early modern research across all our different departments and disciplines. But as Catherine mentioned in the roundtable, there wasn't any kind of linkages which were connecting us. So we were kind of doing things in our silos rather than working collaboratively together, which obviously is not a great way to foster a productive research culture or environment. So REMRA has really been a revolution for all our early modernists at UHI, because it's literally brought us out of those groups and exposed us to what everyone else is doing. And that also had a ramification for our teaching, because it became very apparent quickly that actually we were doing quite a lot of early modern teaching as well, but we didn't really have a specialised, catered programme which pulled upon all of these expertise and pulled upon the vast array of existing curriculum that was already present within UHI, but spread across different programmes across different disciplines. So from around 2022, Catherine and I and others within the REMRA group started talking about, well, what if we had our own programme, an early modern programme, which pooled on all of these things, but also gave us the opportunity to create new early modern content, which then linked into the research that we were actively doing anyway, and created that kind of culture which we mentioned earlier, where research was actively feeding into our teaching. And of course, the research itself not only stimulates us as staff, but attracts students. Students want, as Harley said, students want to be taught by people doing this research and looking into the things and topics that interest them. So from 2022 onwards, we started to talk about, well, actually, what would that programme look like? And we started to work our way through the approval process here at UHI. And that was a long process because we needed to make sure that we got it all right. We needed to make sure that the programme was structured the right ways, marketed the right ways, all these kind of things that anyone that's done curricular development before will sympathise with us. But we did finally get it across the line, and it's approved for delivery in 2025. So we're absolutely ecstatic to be welcoming our first cohort of EMES students later this year in September. So for any prospective students in the audience or watching the recording, these are the kind of key facts that we need to just highlight. I should start by saying actually that this programme is designed to pull upon all of those research themes which we've explored over the last few days, and I'll talk a little bit more detail about that shortly. But if you are interested in Northern Europe during the early modern period, war and society, communities, identities, these are our key identifying factors which we as a collective all contribute to with our research, and it's something that's going to come across very strongly in our teaching as well. So key facts. To get onto the EMES programme, we're looking for a 2-1 undergraduate degree in a related subject. But what I would say is that at UHI, we are very lucky to attract a lot of students from all over the world, and also students who are coming back to their studies after some, a professional break or some time away. So if you're sitting there thinking about, oh, maybe I don't have the correct, sorry, it's a 2-2 degree. I'm lying to you on the screen. But if you're thinking there, maybe I don't have the necessary requirements, please get in touch with us and have that conversation with us first, because it might be the case that actually you do have the sufficient requirements, and that maybe it's just not formatted in such a way that you think it's relevant. Once you're on the programme, there's 3 modes of studies. So we offer a full-time option, which is pretty straightforward. So that'll take you about 35 hours a week. There's a part-time option, which is quite literally half of that. So instead of doing 3 modules each semester, you'll do 2 modules a semester. And that'll take you about 17.5 hours a week on average. And there's also an unstructured or modular option. And this is an option for people who either just want to take 1 or 2 modules, or that they want to complete the programme at a much slower pace. So they're only taking 1 module per semester. We have 2 enrolment periods, so you can start with us either in September or January, and there's 3 exit pathways. So these are the postgraduate certificate, postgraduate diploma, and the full MLitt. And I'll talk a little bit about actually what those things mean and what they look like in just a wee second. But the really important thing about EMES is that it is fully online. So that means that you can study with us from anywhere in the world, so long as you've got some sort of internet connection. In previous years and on other MLitt programs, we've quite literally had people study on all continents. A couple of years ago at INS, we had a student who did an entire MLitt while sailing around the Pacific Ocean. She was tuning in to lectures from her catamaran off the coast of Tonga and New Zealand, which was very cool. I was very jealous. But it underlines the fact that no matter where you are in the world, you can study with us. And the other important factor is obviously if you're perhaps in Australia or parts of the US or elsewhere, and you're not in the same time zone as us, actually getting to those live sessions is going to be difficult, but none of those live sessions on the EMES program are compulsory. All of the sessions will be recorded. So that means that you can study synchronously, i.e. you're going to turn up to those live sessions, you're going to come to seminars, tune in for all those discussions. But it also means that, as Harley demonstrated in her discussion, that if you can't make them for whatever reason, time zones, work commitments, family commitments, all this kind of stuff, then you can catch up at your own leisure. So it allows you to cater your mode of study to your own circumstances. And as I've already kind of pointed out, and I'll no doubt bring out in the discussion as well, EMES has been designed from the beginning to have very strong linkages to REMRA. And especially for those students who are interested in perhaps progressing from postgraduate taught to postgraduate research, if you're thinking about an MRes or a PhD or anything like that, then there are aspects of the EMES program which have been designed to expose students to that research culture and environment. Exactly what Mark said in the roundtable about an hour ago, you know, the importance of allowing students to see behind the curtain. Because I remember, as I'm sure a lot of people here remember, being a master's student and thinking that your lecturers and professors were these kind of demigods that never got anything wrong, they never struggle with sources or research or anything like that. The fact of the matter is that we struggle from all the same issues that students do, but it's really important to show students actually what the process of research at university looks like. And so there are going to be very strong linkages between the EMES program and our postgraduate research and wider research environments as well. And one of the key things which we're going to use as a vehicle for that is that students enrolled on EMES can attend REMRA meetings. They'll be more than welcome to come along and kind of see behind the curtain and you know, watch us discuss budgets and research projects and funding and all this kind of stuff. But also we're going to have a joint student staff work in progress group called Grindstone, where staff, PGR students and PGT students who might want to come along and talk about dissertations, etc., will be presenting their work in progress to the group to receive constructive feedback and discussion. And that it's not going to be a kind of Shark Tank setup. It's all meant to be very collaborative and supportive. And Harley also mentioned in our talk the importance of creating a community, and being fully online does present certain difficulties to that, but it's also been something that we've been very conscious of when developing the new program. And throughout your modules, you'll have ample opportunities to engage with the other students on your program as well as the teaching team. But we're also going to have a dedicated online community space called the Grand Tour, where there's going to be additional opportunities to make connections. It's also going to act as a kind of a notice board for information about upcoming events like this one, funding opportunities for PGR, and everything else related to early modern Europe. So we're obviously not the only university in Scotland, let alone Europe, who offers a course on early modern studies. But why study with us? I think UHI offers a very unique and flexible mode of studying at postgraduate level, which is very attractive to a lot of students, and also very inclusive for students all over the world. So if you're based in Germany and Scandinavia, the US, Australia, you can get the same experience as anyone based in the Highlands and Islands themselves. And if you are based in the Highlands and Islands, please do make sure that you're utilising all of the UHI resources and coming into our campuses. UHI has also been voted by the students themselves as having the best postgraduate taught experience in Scotland for the last 3 years. And as I hope that I've highlighted, and I will come back to this point, that all of our teaching on the EMES programme is research-led. So all of the topics and debates that you'll experience over the course of the programme, these are things that we are actively researching and contributing to. And as I mentioned, if any of the key themes that have arisen out of this conference spark your interest, things like the North European region itself, the North Atlantic, the Baltic, war and society, communities and identities, these are very much the hallmarks of the research which we do as a collective at UHI, and these are the things that we're going to be focusing on in particular over the course of the programme. So this is just a bit of a breakdown to show you what the programme looks like in practice, and on the left-hand side you'll see those 3 exit pathways. So it's maybe not entirely clear on that graph, but to complete with a postgraduate certificate, you need to complete all 3 core modules on the programme. And the module is constructed of 3 core modules. You've got 3 optional slots where you can pick an optional module, and of course the dissertation as well. So for the PG Cert, you just need to complete those 3 core modules. For the postgraduate diploma, you need to complete the 3 core modules in addition to 3 optional choices. And then to get the MLitt, you have to complete all of the previous modules and the dissertation itself. So the core modules, these are the modules that every EMES student will need to take. They start with early modern studies, debates and practice, which is taught in September. And this is very much our core skills module, but it's also team taught. So not only will students get the skills and the methodological context that they'll need to conduct their own research across their other modules in the dissertation, they'll also be exposed to those really important big debates within our field, and they'll receive lectures and seminars from the wider teaching team that we have on the EMES course, and I'll come back to that in a wee second. The other two core modules, one is taught by myself, one is taught by Catherine. So I teach Faith, Fury, Fraternity, the making of modern Europe. And this is very much the kind of contextual overview of all the major developments in early modern European history from 1500 to 1800. It's a massive topic, but we're really focusing on the key historiographical debates and the key developments which will impact our understanding of all the other modules on the programme. So it's very much a political, military and religious history of the period, but hopefully that provides students with a lot of context that they can apply to the other modules. Catherine's module takes a slightly different approach, and it's looking very much at the social and cultural histories of Northern Europe, focusing on trade, migration and identity. So just to very quickly run through actually what these modules look like in practice, this is the Early Modern Studies module, and you'll see on the screen, this is the current outline of what that program, that module will look like. So all modules run across 12 weeks. And you'll see here that we have sessions from lots of speakers who have appeared across the last 2 days. I cover all the kind of more boring things, so that's the core skills, very important, but understandably not as maybe interesting as early modern archaeology or court theatre and literature. And then I hand over to Catherine, who looks at things like paleography and then also kinship, community, and then war and state. And then we've got people from across the wider EMES team, including Mark Elliott, Lucy Dean, Sarah Jane Given, Jen Harland, Leslie Mickle, Philippa Woodcock, and Lindsay Hunter, presenting on a lot of their research interests as well. And that'll expose students to different disciplinary approaches to the period, different sources, different methodologies. When it comes to Faith, Fury, Fraternity, we're obviously trying to cover a huge amount of time and a huge array of events. And so we'll really be focusing on the kind of most important aspects of our period and the key developments in the political, military and religious history of Europe across the early modern period. And you'll see here that we do cover a huge range of topics, from the Reformation and the developments in political thought to the role of the Ottoman Empire within early modern Europe, and focusing towards the end of the module on the Enlightenment and the revolutions at the end of our period. Catherine's module will pull on actually a lot of the kind of key themes that emerged, especially on the first day of our conference, around networks and identities and communities. And you'll see here that Catherine will explore with students the different aspects of those relationships, from the military, religious and academic, and then also focus in on some case studies looking at things like foreign merchants in early modern Sweden and religious communities in Amsterdam. And of course, we wouldn't be the UHI if we didn't look at the wider Scottish diaspora within early modern Europe as well. Now, I just want to very quickly mention a few things about the dissertation. The dissertation will not be anything surprising to students who have already completed one, but it really is an opportunity to dive into a topic which really interests you. And throughout that entire process, you work very closely with myself, I'll be the module leader on this, but also a chosen supervisor, who will provide you with not only kind of constructive feedback and support in terms of the production of the dissertation, but also that kind of scholarly framework to engage with sources and scholarship. So the dissertation runs from September to July every year, and as part of that, there's 3 preparatory workshops which all students will be invited to participate in live, but they'll also be recorded. And that'll help students pick out topics and supervisors, actually conduct the research itself, and then the dreaded writing up of the whole thing after Christmas. And I'm very pleased to announce that we will be having an annual Best Dissertation Prize as well, which has been very generously sponsored by the First Marquess of Montrose Society. So the best EMES dissertation each year will receive a prize of £100. And those are just the core modules. So those 3 optional modules, if you're doing the diploma option or the MLitt, you'll have the choice of currently 17 modules which have been drawn from both new modules for EMES, but also the pre-existing modules which are running in the departments of Northern Studies, History, Archaeology, Theology, and Literature. And, you know, the 17, I couldn't put all 17 up on the screen, but these are just to give you a bit of a flavour. Rather selfishly, I've put my new module up there, so if you want to hear me drone on about the British Civil War some more, you can take my module on the Wars of the Covenant. If you want to hear about the interesting things that are going on in the Northern Isles during the early modern period, you can tune into Catherine's module, Maritime Lives. You can learn from Sarah Jane, who'll be talking a lot about the kind of lifty side of things on Scottish historical archaeology, Lucy's module on royal power, propaganda and performance, and many, many more. And if you are interested in any in the programme more generally, or any of the individual modules to do that kind of modular option, please do get in touch and I can send you a full list of those options. And I just wanted to, before coming around to a conclusion, just to explain a little bit about what that actually looks like in practice, what your studies look like. Harley very kindly kind of broke that down into what her weekly routine looked like. But it's worth noting that all of our resources will be available online, and that's going from the recorded lectures, the seminars, to the readings, and even the primary source material as well. And that is all accessible via our virtual learning environment at UHI, which is called Brightspace. Now, anybody coming from undergraduate experience will probably be familiar with virtual learning environments. If you've got no understanding of what that is, you've never experienced that, please don't panic. We provide a lot of induction training before your studies get underway, so hopefully we'll have addressed all the kind of technical problems before actually the programme kicks off in earnest. And we're supported in all of this by our amazing library staff and the amazing resources which we have online at the University of the Highlands and Islands. Like I mentioned, we will have lots of weekly optional live sessions, but they are optional. So if you can't make time to get along to them, please don't panic. They will all be recorded and you can digest them whenever you get the opportunity. Assessments is another thing that a lot of students tend to ask about. Assessments for the programme, they do vary across the modules. So some modules have things like essays, others have source analyses. There are some live presentations or kind of recorded presentations on topics. So they do vary across the programme itself, but they will all be, they're all submitted online. So there's nothing, again, that should impact your regular routine. And also that boosts kind of accessibility as well. And if you do have any accessibility concerns, or you've got any kind of additional support needs that you'd like to discuss, UHI is incredibly supportive of all this. We have a huge experience of supporting students from all range of backgrounds. But if you do have concerns, again, please just get in touch with us and we can have a chat. So if you'd like to find out more information about the programme, you can tune in on the UHI website, where there's the kind of full breakdown of what the programme looks like. Again, we're a friendly bunch. Hopefully that's come across over the last couple of days. Whether you get in contact with myself, Catherine, or any other member of the teaching team, do just reach out, have a chat, and we're happy to answer any questions. And you can also follow us in all the usual places on social media for updates. And I just wanted to, just before finishing up, just to thank everyone for not only coming to the conference. I wanted to thank the wider teaching team, especially Catherine, for all their effort over the last 2 years, can you believe it, in getting the programme off the ground. I also wanted to thank the various management teams that have been incredibly supportive, especially Professor Donna Heddle and Dr. Ian McInnes, who have really helped us get the programme from a rough idea in Donna's office 2 years ago to an actual fully fledged programme. And I also want to thank all the support and teaching staff more widely who have helped us get through that process and get the programme up and running. So I'll stop sharing just now, but if anyone has any questions at all, I'd be happy to answer them. And yeah, so we've got about 15 minutes, and yeah, I see that we've got a couple of questions already in the chat. Julia, will modules be available for MLitt Archaeological Studies me, and will it be possible to participate in REMRA groups activities? Absolutely, Julia. So this is another important point. If you're already enrolled on a kind of similar programme like the Archaeology Studies MLitt, like the Centre for History's programmes, EMES modules will be available as your optional modules. So again, this is the kind of the great thing about UHI, that hopefully you'll be engaging with students from different programs as well across your studies. Oh, I'll stop recording. Thanks, Catherine.